Hey everyone, welcome back to Coding Done. Today, we're going to build an interactive and fun color sorting game using JavaScript. This project is perfect for beginners to practice working with DOM manipulation, arrays, and drag and drop functionality. Let's get started. Before we dive into the code, let's first understand what this game is all about. We have tubes filled with colored balls. The goal of the game is to sort the colors so that each tube contains only one color or is empty. Players can drag the top ball from one tube and drop it into another. The game ends when all tubes are correctly sorted. Alright, let's start by building the structure of our game using HTML. Think of it as the skeleton of our game. First, we need a container to hold our test tubes and the restart button. Each test tube will hold the colored balls that we'll manipulate during the game. Let's write the HTML for this. We have a div with the class GameContainer, which acts as the parent for our test tubes. This will help us style them together later. Inside it, we've added 4 div elements, each with the class testTube. This represents our game's tubes. Below the container, there is a button with the ID Restart button. This button will let the player restart the game. Let's save this file and move on to the styling part. Now, let's take a look at the CSS that styles our game. I will explain the main parts to give you an overall idea of how we've shaped the look and feel. We started with some global styling for the body elements. This includes setting a clean, readable fonts and centering the text on the page. We also gave the background a light gray color to make the game elements stand out. For the heading, we kept it simple by giving it a dark gray color. This keeps the text easy to read and visually fits with the rest of the design. The game container is the area where the test tubes are placed. Here, we used a flexible layout to arrange the tubes side by side, with some spacing between them. We also made sure everything is centered on the page and aligned at the bottom. The test tubes are styled to look realistic. We gave them a fixed size, a rounded shape, and a light gray background. There is also a subtle shadow underneath each tube to create a 3D effect. The balls are the main interactive elements in the game. Each ball is a small circle with a specific color to represent different items. They are also designed to look draggable by adding a hand cursor effect when you hover over them. For the button, we made it simple and user-friendly. It has a green background with white text, rounded edges, and hover effects that change its color slightly. This hover effect gives it an interactive feel and lets users know it's clickable. So, the CSS brings everything together visually. It ensures our game looks clean, modern, and easy to interact with. We'll move to JavaScript to add functionality and bring the game to life. First, let's set up the initial state for our game. This is where we define how the game starts, which color go in which tube. Here, initial state is an array of arrays. Each sub-array represents one tube, and the strings inside represent the colors of the balls. For example, the first tube has green, blue, green, and yellow balls. The last 2 tubes are empty, which is where we can move balls during the game. Next, we need to display the tubes and balls on the screen dynamically. For this, we'll write the render state function. Alright, so let's start by grabbing the elements we need to work with from our HTML. Specifically, we'll grab the test tube and the restart button. This will allow us to dynamically update the tube's content and handle the game reset. Next, we'll create a function called render state. This function is going to be the heart of how the game visually updates. It takes one argument, state, which represents the current configuration of the balls in the tubes. Let me explain what this function does step by step. First, we loop through each tube using tubes.forEach. Each tube corresponds to one container in our game. Before we do anything else, we clean the tube's content using tube.innerHTML equal an empty string. This ensures that we are starting with the blank slate for that tube. Then, for each tube, we look at the state and loop through the colors in that specific tube. For each color, we create a div element using document.createElementDiv. This div will represent a ball in the game. We assign it 2 classes. One is ball for general ball styling, and the other is the specific color such as red, blue, or green. This way, each ball gets styled correctly based on its color. Now, here's an important rule for our game. Only the topmost ball in the tube should be draggable. To enforce this, we check if the current ball is the last one in the tube by comparing its position in the state array. If it's the last ball, we set ball.draggable to true, otherwise it's set to false. This ensures that players can only pick up balls in the correct order. Finally, once the ball is ready, we append it to the current tube using tube.appendChildBall. This adds the ball to the tube so it appears visually on the screen. By the end of this function, all the tubes are updated to reflect the current game state, making the game dynamic and responsive whenever the state changes, whenever a ball is moved or a new game is started. This function ensures that the visual stays in sync with the logic. Now that we have defined the rest state function, it's time to put it into action. To kick off the game, we need to call this function with our initial game state. This step ensures that the tubes and balls are displayed on the screen right from the beginning. So let's go ahead and initiate the game by calling render state initial state. Let's dive deeper into how we allow players to move balls by using JavaScript's drag and drop events. We start by setting up an event listener for the drag start event. This event is triggered when the user begins dragging an element, in this case a ball from one of the test tubes. Here is the code for that. e.target.classlist.contains ball. This checks if the item being dragged is a ball. We want to make sure that only balls can be moved, not other elements in the tube. e.target.draggable. This checks if the ball is marked as draggable, which we set earlier in the render state function for the topmost ball. So we only want to drag the ball that's on top of the tube. Draggable equal e.target. Once we confirm that the element is a ball and is draggable, we store the ball that's being dragged in the dragged ball variable. This will allow us to reference it later when we drop it into another tube. From tube equal index. We also need to remember which tube the ball comes from, so we store the index of that tube in the from tube variable. This helps us keep track of where the ball is being dragged from, so we know where to update the state once it's dropped into a new tube. So, to summarize, this piece of code sets everything up for the drag action. When a player starts dragging a ball, we capture the ball and the tube it's coming from. This is the foundation of the rest of the drag and drop functionality. Let's take a moment to talk about the drag over event. This event is crucial because it allows us to actually place or drop the dragged ball into a different test tube. By default, when you drag an item in most browsers, the item is not allowed to be dropped anywhere. To enable dropping, we need to do something special. Here is the code. Drag over. This event is triggered every time the dragged item, in our case the ball, is moved over a valid drop target, one of the test tubes. It runs continuously as long as the item is being dragged over the tube, but it doesn't automatically allow the ball to be dropped. e.prevent default. This is the key part. When an element is dragged over another, the default behavior is that the item cannot be dropped unless we explicitly tell the browser to allow it. By calling e.prevent default, we are telling the browser, yes, you can drop the item here. Without this, if you drag a ball over a tube, nothing will happen because the browser is blocking the drop action by default. This simple line of code enables the drop to happen smoothly. Now, when a player actually moves a ball from one tube to another, the first thing we do inside the drop event is prevent the default behavior with e.prevent default. If we didn't do that, the browser would block the drop action. This is a common trick we need to ensure our custom drag and drop functionality works correctly. Then, we check if there is actually a ball being dragged. If there is, we store the index of the tube where we're dropping the ball, which is tube. So we know which tube is going to receive the ball. Next, we grab the color of the ball that's being dragged by using pop on the from tube. The pop method removes the topmost ball from the tube and saves its color in the color variable. This is how we ensure that only the topmost ball is moved. We don't want players to move balls that are stuck deeper down in the tube. Now, we check if the destination tube has space for the ball. Since each tube can hold a maximum of 4 balls, we simply check if the tube has less than 4 balls already. If there is space, we push the ball's color into the tube. But if the tube is full, we don't allow the ball to be dropped there, and we return it to the original tube. Finally, once the ball is successfully moved, we set dragged ball to null to reset the drag state. Then, we call render state initial state to update the screen and reflect the new positions of the balls. And, of course, we check the win condition right after to see if the player has completed the game. Alright, Now that we have our game where we can move balls around, we need to check when the game is won. How do we know if the player has won? Well, the idea is that for the game to be won, every tube should have balls of the same color and there shouldn't be any duplicates between the tubes. Let's take a look at the function that does this. It's called check win condition. Let me explain it step by step. We create an empty array called colors seen to keep track of the colors we have already seen in the tubes. This ensures no tubes will have the same color. We use every on initial state. The every method goes through each tube one by one. For each tube, we check. If it's empty, we just skip it because an empty tube doesn't affect the win condition. If there are balls in the tube, we check if all the balls are the same color. We do that by using every of the balls inside the tube, and we compare each ball's color to the first ball's color. We check for duplicate colors. If the tube has all the same color balls, we then check if we have seen that color in another tube already. If we have, we return false because having two tubes with the same color means the game isn't won yet. Returning is single color. If the tube passes all the checks and has only one color, we return true for that tube, meaning it's sorted. If any tube fails, the wall condition fails and the game isn't won. Finally, if all the tubes are sorted, we display a win message with alert, you won. This is how we check if the player has won the game. Finally, we add a restart button to reset the game whenever needed. When the player clicks the restart button, the game state resets to the initial state and we render the game. Now that we have set up the restart functionality and everything is working, it's time to test our game. This is an important part of the development process and it's also where we can have a lot of fun. You may notice that the game as it is now is simple, but we can make it as complex as we want. For example, we could add a score counter to keep track of the player's moves. What if we added levels? Each level could introduce a new challenge, like adding more tubes or more colors. It will be more fun. Let's make this game even more fun by adding one last touch. We'll dynamically generate the initial game state each time the game starts. Let's start by creating a new function to generate a random initial state. Let's type this out. Here's what's happening. The colors array holds the possible ball colors. This is where our random selections will come from. New state is the array of arrays representing the tubes. It starts with 4 empty arrays because all our tubes are empty at the start. Then I'm looping 8 times because we have 8 balls to distribute. Inside the loop, I'm using math.random to pick a random color from the color array. This ensures the colors are completely random each time. For the first 4 iterations, I add a random color to the first tube using newState0.pushRandomColor. For the next 4, I do the same for the second tube using newState1.pushRandomColor. Finally, I return the newState array, which now contains our random initial setup. And that's it for the random state generator. Instead of manually setting the initial state array, we'll call this function when the game starts. So I'm going to replace the static initial state array with a call to generate random initial state. See how simple that is? Now every time we start the game, it will have a unique configuration. But wait! We also want the game to restart with a random setup whenever the player clicks the restart button. When the restart button is clicked, we call generate random initial state to create a fresh random configuration. Then we replace the old initial state with the new random one using splice. This keeps the rest of our code intact as it still works with initial state. Finally, we call render state to update the game's visuals to match the new random states. And just like that, we have added randomness to both the game start and the restart functionality. Now, our game feels much more dynamic and fun. Every time you start or restart the game, you will get a brand new challenge. It's a simple change, but it makes a big difference for the player experience. And that's it. This project is an excellent way to practice JavaScript fundamentals while building something interactive and fun. If you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more awesome coding projects. See you in the next video. Bye!